You've probably heard the saying, history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. And when you look at the greatest empires in history, you start to see a chilling rhythm. They rise with unwavering confidence. They expand driven by ambition. They dominate the world with their power, and then, one by one, they all collapse. But it's not a sudden, random event. It happens in predictable stages. Think about it. From the Spanish Empire, stretching across the globe, to the British Empire, where the sun never set, and even the Soviet Union, a modern superpower, each one followed the same hidden pattern of decline. They had different flags, spoke different languages, and were built on completely different ideologies. But their final chapter was remarkably similar. Today, a growing number of historians and economists are pointing out something unsettling. They believe the United States, the current global superpower, has entered stage 5 of that very same pattern. Now let's be clear. This isn't a prediction. This isn't propaganda, and it's definitely not about being anti-American. This is about listening to what history is telling us. It's about understanding the 7-stage collapse pattern of empires. The first stage is always the age of pioneers, a burst of incredible energy and courage. This is when new nations are born from hardship. Think of the early American settlers forging a new world. Then comes the age of conquests, where they expand their territory and influence, growing stronger and wealthier. Following that is the age of commerce. This is the golden era, where the empire's economic power is unmatched, and its currency is the standard for the world. Life is good, and it feels like the prosperity will last forever. But then, things start to shift. We enter the age of affluence. The descendants of the tough pioneers and builders become more focused on wealth and comfort than on duty and sacrifice. The work ethic that built the empire begins to fade. This leads directly into the age of intellect. The nation turns inward, questioning its own values. Debates and intellectualism flourish, but action and decisive leadership decline. National pride is replaced by criticism and division. Sound familiar? This is the stage many believe we're in right now. The final 2 stages are the age of decadence and the age of decline and collapse. This is marked by financial ruin from massive debt, a debased currency, and a loss of military strength. The empire becomes overextended, unable to defend its borders or project power. Internal divisions explode, and the once mighty nation crumbles, often from within. The question is no longer if empires fall, because history shows us they all do. The real question is, where are we on this timeline right now? What stage do you think we're in? Let us know in the comments. Every empire believes it's different. Spain thought its gold would last forever. Britain thought its navy made it eternal. The USSR thought ideology would conquer economics. The United States believes innovation and the dollar make it invincible. But empires don't collapse because of external enemies. They collapse from within. War doesn't kill empires. Debt does. Division does. Overconfidence does. And most importantly, time does. Empires grow faster than they can sustain themselves, expanding beyond their economic limits and promising more than they can deliver. History shows us a clear pattern, a 7-stage cycle of rise and fall. From pioneering expansion and commercial dominance to financialization, military overstretch, every empire has a beginning, a moment when it's young, hungry, and willing to risk it all. Think about Spain after discovering the New World. It was an age of explorers, sailors, and conquistadors, driving a rapid expansion across the Americas. Then there was Britain, a small island nation with massive ambition. It entered this stage during the age of exploration, building a global network of ships, colonies, and trade routes. And what about the United States? After independence, it was all about westward expansion, relentless innovation, and a surge of entrepreneurship that fueled incredible industrial growth. This first stage is always defined by hard work, bold risk-taking, and a booming population that drives real economic output. Empires are built by builders, innovators, and producers, not by bankers. But as history shows, this explosive stage of creation never lasts forever. Ever wondered how empires rise and then stumble? It often starts with trade. Take Spain. Silver and gold poured in from the Americas, making Spain the richest empire on earth, at least on paper. Then came Britain. they took control of the world's shipping lanes. London became the center of global trade, and the British pound was the currency everyone used. Fast forward to after World War II, and it's America's turn. US factories were booming, exports were massive, and the US dollar kicked the pound off its throne. This is the peak power stage. Money is flowing in, life gets better for everyone, and confidence can easily turn into arrogance. But this is exactly where empires make a critical mistake. They start to think that controlling trade means they have infinite power, and that's a dangerous illusion. What happens next? Have you ever wondered how empires fall? It's not always war or famine. Sometimes the seed of collapse is planted when an empire stops producing and starts managing money instead. Take Spain, for example. They had vast amounts of gold from the New World, but instead of using that wealth to build industries, they just spent it. This easy money destroyed their productivity. Then there's Britain. They shifted from being the world's workshop to the world's banker. London became a global financial hub, but their manufacturing power declined. And now, the United States. Many factories have moved overseas, and Wall Street's influence has grown immensely, often overshadowing Main Street. This pattern is marked by extreme wealth inequality, speculation over real production, and financial bubbles that enrich the elite while the middle class stagnates. When an empire becomes a financial empire instead of a productive one, history shows us that it rarely ends well. Have you ever wondered why empires fall? It's a pattern we see throughout history. It often starts when an empire tries to use military force to stop its own decline. Take Spain, for example. Constant wars all over Europe completely drained its treasury, hastening its collapse. Then there's Britain. It won 2 world wars, but victory came at a massive cost. The country was financially destroyed, buried in debt. The Soviet Union is another classic case. Their economy was consumed by massive military spending. The relentless arms race with the West ultimately bankrupted the entire system. Now think about the United States. With military bases all over the globe and seemingly endless wars in places like Vietnam, Iraq, and Afghanistan, the costs have run into the trillions. A powerful military might look impressive on the surface, but economically, it can be lethal. No empire can outspend reality forever. Have you ever wondered what the end of an empire actually looks like? It's not always a sudden, dramatic event. Historians point to a final, 5th stage, which is the most dangerous of all. Why? Because from the outside, the empire still looks incredibly powerful, but beneath the surface, the foundations are cracking. This stage has several key warning signs. Think massive, spiraling national debt. Think deep, bitter political polarization, where compromise becomes impossible. Social division grows, and people lose trust in the institutions that once held society together, like the government, media, and even the financial system. The currency comes under pressure, infrastructure starts to decay, and the cost of living skyrockets, crushing the middle class. This isn't just theory. We've seen this pattern play out throughout history. Look at 17th century Spain. Its national debt exploded, inflation ran wild, and social trust completely vanished. The empire crumbled from within. Or consider the British Empire after World War II. Drowning in debt, it was forced into decolonization. It simply couldn't afford to maintain its global reach anymore. And of course, there was the Soviet Union. Economic stagnation, widespread shortages, and growing public anger led to a total system collapse. Now, let's look at the United States today. The national debt is over $34 trillion. Political chaos and cultural wars are everyday headlines. We're seeing declining life expectancy, serious discussions about de-dollarization, and challenges from other world powers. Perhaps most importantly, there's a growing sense of internal distrust. Now, this doesn't mean collapse is happening tomorrow. This 5th stage can last for years, even decades. It's a period of extreme instability and unpredictability. But the historical record is clear. While it may be a slow burn, no empire has ever entered this stage and managed to escape it. History offers us a warning, and it's up to us to listen. Thanks for watching. Why do empires fall? It's not always about battles or invasions. Empires collapse the moment the world stops believing in them. Take Spain, once a global power. Its reign ended when creditors simply stopped lending money. The illusion of infinite wealth was gone. Then there's Britain. The British Empire didn't fall in a single battle. It faded when the pound lost its status as the world's reserve currency and America stepped in. Even the Soviet Union crumbled when its allies walked away, and its ideology lost all credibility. So what about the United States? The signs would be similar. The dollar losing its dominance, allies starting to hedge their bets, and rivals offering new alternatives. When trade starts bypassing American systems, that's when the real shift happens. In the end, confidence is power. Once it's lost, it's almost impossible to get back. Ever wondered what the end of an empire looks like? We often picture it as a fiery, dramatic collapse, full of violence and chaos. But history tells a different story. The final stage isn't always a Hollywood blockbuster. Sometimes, it's a quiet fade. Think about it. When empires reach their final chapter, they don't just vanish from the map overnight. They transform. Take Spain, for example. Once a sprawling global empire, it eventually settled into its role as a regional power. It didn't disappear. It just changed its scale and influence. Or look at the British Empire, the empire on which the sun never set. It didn't end in a single, cataclysmic event. Instead, it gracefully, and sometimes not so gracefully, transformed into a secondary global player. The Commonwealth is a living legacy of that transformation, a network of nations bound by history, but no longer by colonial rule. Of course, sometimes the end is more abrupt. The Soviet Union is a prime example. It didn't just shrink, it fractured and collapsed completely. The fall of the Berlin Wall wasn't the cause, but a symptom of a system that could no longer hold itself together. It was a dramatic end, but even then, its legacy and influence linger in complex ways across Eastern Europe and Central Asia. So, where does that leave the United States? Today, America stands at a historical crossroads, its future still undecided. History seems to offer two main paths. The first is a path of painful but necessary reform and transformation. This would mean confronting internal challenges, adapting to a new global landscape, and redefining its role in the 21st century. It's a difficult road, but one that could lead to a revitalized and sustainable future. The other path is a gradual decline into the pages of history, a slow, steady erosion of influence, economic power, and global standing. This isn't a sudden crash, but a long, drawn-out process of becoming less relevant on the world stage. The key takeaway is this: empires rarely disappear entirely. They fade, they morph, they leave echoes that resonate for centuries. Their power recedes, their borders shrink, and their stories become lessons for the future. The end of an empire is not just an event, it's a long, complex process of becoming something new. History isn't cruel, it's just honest. It's a record keeper, and it shows us a pattern. Every great empire, every dominant power that thought it was the exception, that ignored the warning signs, eventually paid the price. Think about it. Rome, the British Empire, the Spanish Empire. They all reached a point where they felt invincible. Now, this isn't to say the United States is doomed, it's not. But it's also not immune to the laws of history. We're at a critical stage, a moment where the signs are visible, but denial is at its strongest. This is the point where change is still possible, but it requires humility. Empires don't fall because of outside forces alone. They crumble from within when they start believing the rules no longer apply to them, when they mistake power for permanence. And if there's one thing history has taught us, it's that it never ever forgives arrogance. Thanks for watching. Have you ever heard of the 7-stage collapse pattern? It's not some new theory, it's a historical record. A pattern that powerful empires have followed, one after another. Think about it. The Spanish Empire? It followed the pattern. The British Empire, where the sun never set, it followed it too. Even the mighty Soviet Union walked this very same path to its end. Each one, a giant in its time, traced these 7 stages to decline. Now look at the United States today. Many are saying we're seeing the same signs, walking down that familiar road. The only question left is a big one. Will America be the first to break the cycle and learn from the lessons of the past? Or will it simply become the next chapter in a very old story? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into history's biggest questions. Thanks for watching.